Jin Mori is a pathetic, lonely loser, living with his old man, who trained him to become the strongest martial artist and unlock his hidden godly ability. But one day, the old man left to find milk, leaving him alone, and he never came back. This all begins with three guys chilling on a beach, getting massages from a group of girls. One of the men phones a government worker named Park to ask about a bill they push toward the National Assembly. Money gets floated on the call, but these guys aim higher. They're talking about wrecking the Prime Minister's reputation. While they're plotting, something strange heads toward the island. Wind slams in, clouds swallow the sky, and the mood flips from vacation to panic. Before they can react, a huge something drops from above and smashes them flat. Cut to an office. A quiet man closes his hand like he's crushing air, and at the same time, it's like he's crushing the people on that island. He tells his secretary they're out of time and have to begin now. On the back of his hand, there's a red cross tattoo. Helicopters reach the island later and find a massive hand-shaped crater stamped into the ground. And in the center is a cross marked the exact same symbol as the tattoo on that man's hand. Now we jump to Jin Mori, a teenager. He wakes from a dream about his grandpa leaving. He stares at an old photo of the two of them, then jolts. He's late. Big day. He jumps on his bicycle, annoyed at himself for oversleeping. On TV, the news says today kicks off the nationwide martial arts event called God of High School. Any student in the country can try out, and the city qualifiers are happening at the arena. Kids everywhere freak out trying to grab tickets. Meanwhile, we see a boy working a shift at a store. He hauls trash out back, checks his wallet, and winces. He's short on cash and needs more hours to cover his expenses. Elsewhere, a girl is on her way to the tournament. She asks a couple of martial artist guys who didn't make the cut for directions. They help her out, and she can't help but geek out over one guy's jacked arms. Back to Mori. He's biking to the arena, stomach growling, daydreaming about lunch. Suddenly, a motorcycle thief flies past and snatches an old lady's purse. Mori sees the panic on her face and immediately flips around to chase the guy. Chaos. The thief has an engine, Mori's only got pedals. But Mori rides like a pro, cutting lanes, leaning hard, practically flying on that bike. In the middle of the chase, he bumps into the same girl from earlier, the one who was admiring those muscles. He apologizes quick and pushes on. A second later, she notices her glasses are cracked. She gets mad, whips out a sword, and launches it at Mori with a "you're not getting away" vibe. Mori yells back that he's chasing the thief who stole the grandma's purse. That hits her right in the conscience. She hops on his bike, and now they're a two-person rocket, dead set on catching the thief. The thief tries everything to get away. The duo won't drop it. The girl jumps to attack with her sword, but misjudges the leap and slams into a street sign. Just then, a boy from the store, the same one who needed extra shifts, steps into the road and drops the thief with one punch. Clean. Mori and the girl stare, impressed. Next scene. The tournament is about to start. Surprise, all three, Mori, the girl, and the store guy, are in the same locker room, getting ready to fight in the city prelims. The girl, Mira, tells Mori he should pay for her broken glasses. Mori says it's the thief's fault, but he also thanks both of them for saving him back there. Mori introduces himself as Jin Mori. The other boy says he's Han Daewi. Names exchanged, vibes set. The announcer lays out the rules. Any fighting style is allowed, no time limit, and weapons are permitted. You win by knockout or by making your opponent give up. These are just the regional prelims. Winners here move on to the main tournament. He also explains the bracelets everyone's wearing. They track your vitals and show if someone is seriously hurt. If that happens, nanomachines already injected into the fighters will kick in and heal injuries on the spot. One more hook. Whoever wins the whole tournament gets one wish granted by the organization. Anything. The bell rings. The crowd gasps as they realize it's not one-on-one, it's a battle royale. A few fighters quickly notice the bracelets don't just track health. They also show fighting levels. Instantly, some start hunting the weak links. Abilities explode across the arena: kicks, throws, blades, the whole mix. Mori stands out fast, mowing through people like it's nothing. Daewi and Mira also prove they're legit, knocking out opponent after opponent. Then a new challenger steps in. Kang Mansuk. A blue-haired woman in the stands whispers he's the favorite to win. Kang tears through fighters with crazy speed, and he's not even using his arms. He complains everyone is weak and says he'd rather be asleep in his prison cell. Mira steps up to fight him. She's tough and skilled, but her attacks barely scratch him. Kang makes gross comments about her looks and even asks her out mid-fight. She shuts him down, completely disgusted. Behind Kang, Mori pulls a goofy distraction. He yanks his pants down just enough to show animal print underwear. Kang reels for a split second, then smashes a kick into Mori's chest, blasting him across the floor. Daewi notices something important. As Kang's kick landed, Mori blocked just right and hurt Kang's foot with his forearm. Mori pops back up, dusts himself off, and says if Kang is going all out, then he will too. They both launch at each other. Meanwhile, far away, US officials are watching footage of that island incident from earlier. They're worried. A man with a scar on his forehead walks in. The security team instantly points guns. He calmly introduces himself, Park Moo-jin, from the Korean government. Back at the arena, round 1 wraps up. Mira heads home first. Mori and Daewi follow because they all live in the same direction. On the way, Jin asks Mira why she hit him during the fight. That brings back what really happened. When Mira jumped in to strike Kang, she accidentally twisted Jin's neck. She wasn't wearing her glasses and misread the distance. She says it wasn't on purpose, and adds that the nanomachines injected into all fighters fixed his injuries immediately. Han is impressed by how advanced the organization's tech is. They share their reasons for joining. Jin wants to fight tons of strong people and get stronger. Han is there for the money. Mira says she's battling to save her family's martial arts academy. Jin teases her, saying people keep snatching her sword way too easily. Mira says it's because she can't see well without glasses. As they talk, Jin quietly lifts her sword without her noticing. When she reaches to take it back, it slips, spins out of her hand, and drops into the river. Jin apologizes fast and offers to go get it. Mira slaps him and tells him to get out of her sight. Night falls. Mira wades through the dark water, searching for the sword. In her head, she hears her father's voice. Never let the moonlight sword style fade. A memory flashes her dad handing her that sword and telling her to find a strong successor for their academy. While other girls did normal teen stuff, she trained, day after day, to carry his dream. Back to now, her phone flashlight dies, and she's surrounded by darkness. Jin shows up with a flashlight, quietly helping her scan the water. As they search, she apologizes for the slap and says that sword is her only keepsake from her father. A moment later, Han arrives too, flipping on bright lights to help them find it. The next morning, a fresh set of matches was about to kick off. Whoever won today would earn a spot in the national stage of God of High School. Among the fighters, they introduced Go Gamdo, we'll call him Go, a calm dude who trained in Tai Chi. In the locker room, Jin Mori had knocked out on a bench, straight up asleep. Kang Man-seok walked over and started threatening him, even though Jin wasn't even awake. Go stepped in between them and told Kang to back off. Kang answered by kicking Go in the face. That snap kicked Jin awake. Jin helped Go up and told him to stay sharp at all times. The first match on the schedule was Mira versus Handel. Mira ended it instantly, one clean move, and Handel was out cold. The rest of the bracket started rolling. Jin got his turn and won easily. After his match, the three watched the other fights on the TV in the waiting area, and Han Daewi also beat his opponent. Seeing both of them perform, Jin said he really wanted to fight them himself. Right then, Go came by to thank Jin for stepping in when Kang attacked earlier. He admitted he shouldn't have dropped his guard. While he was talking, the announcer called the next fighters to the ring. Go versus Kang. Jin warned Go to be careful. Go replied he wasn't afraid of Kang, but he worried about losing the battle of wills. Before the bell, the announcer reminded everyone of the rules. The fight doesn't end until someone is knocked out or surrenders. If a fighter stays outside the ring for more than 20 seconds, that's a DQ. And if anyone gets badly hurt, the nanomachines already in their bodies will heal them. Go told Kang to free his arms and act like a real martial artist. The bout started. Go's technique was clean. He landed a bunch of precise punches that impressed Jin and Mira watching from ringside. Then he flipped Kang into the audience, shocking the crowd. Kang climbed back into the ring slowly, showing almost no damage from all those hits. He then released one arm and started hammering Go. Kang's style allowed anything eye gouges, low blows. The whole thing was built for war survival, not sportsmanship. Go reminded himself what Tai Chi is about: peace, control, not getting angry. He centered his breathing and fired off his special strike, the yin-yang balance. Kang blocked it. After that, Kang demanded Go apologize and surrender, then began slapping him just to humiliate him. Go refused. Kang stepped on his face and tried to rip Go's arms apart. That's when Jin couldn't take it. He jumped in and started hitting Kang, because he hates dirty fighting. The tournament staff surrounded Jin and told him he couldn't interfere. Kang stood back up and said he wasn't the same guy anymore. A black aura poured off him. He took off his heavy pants, and we got a quick flash of his past. When he was weak and begged his mentor for more techniques, she called him a failure. Back in the present, Kang charged Jin with a powerful attack. The officials moved to step in, but Jin leapt forward and kicked Kang over and over until Kang went unconscious. Suddenly, Park Moo-jin, the man with a scar on his forehead, appeared. He used some kind of power to slam Jin into the floor. Over the mic, he introduced himself as the head of tournament administration and announced there would be a serious punishment for Jin. As security started taking Jin away, the crowd could be heard cheering and shouting his name. Elsewhere, a group of people in religious robes sat together like a cult, listening to the tournament on the radio. They said they would carry out God's will, convinced that if they did, their wishes would be granted. Back at the arena, the organizers gathered. The blue-haired woman reported that Go was badly injured and therefore eliminated. We also saw Kang, who now looked shaken by what Jin had done to him. The woman added she didn't think Kang would be fighting again. Later, Jin was in his room working out, while the organizers argued about whether to disqualify him. Park Moo-jin checked Jin's file and was surprised to see Jin's grandfather is Jin Tae-jin. The matches continued. Mira faced Ma Mizian, who happened to be the United States wrestling champion. Ma told Mira to switch to a different weapon, saying a wooden sword wouldn't survive against her. Ma came in aggressive, chaining strong wrestling attacks, and said she'd come from America to win since the champion gets any wish granted. Mira tried to counter with her blade, but Ma's toughness felt like iron, and Mira's attacks didn't land well. Mira's sword flew off to the far side of the ring. Ma taunted her, saying she had no chance. That fired Mira up. She unleashed the moonlight sword style, even without holding her sword, and carved a huge wound across Ma's chest. Ma hit the mat, and Mira was declared the winner. Meanwhile, Jin was in his room celebrating Mira's win when Park walked in to explain Jin's punishment. Park said Jin could rejoin the tournament if he defeated the green-haired guy with glasses. Jin refused. He wanted to fight the blonde guy instead because of a humiliating incident from school. He even threw a tantrum on the floor, insisting on it. The man with glasses said he was stronger than the blonde, and that's why he was chosen. To show Jin he meant it, he punched Jin in the face. Jin popped up excited, realizing the guy was stronger than he thought. Park then said the fight would be tomorrow. Afterward, Mira walked with Han, still upset that Jin interfered in Go's match. She worried Jin might get disqualified. Han called the whole thing incredible and said Jin's power was on another level. Jin ran up to them and told them about his upcoming fight against the green-haired, glasses guy. He also offered them fruit, a gift from Park earlier, saying it would restore their energy. Mira scolded him for being reckless, but Jin talked about what their families told them, basically to follow what they wanted to do. It was starting to look like Park and the blue-haired woman were scheming something behind the scenes. That night, Jin was at home, eating a peach and getting his bed ready. Out of nowhere, he felt a sharp pain in his chest, collapsed, and coughed blood. Somewhere else, Park admitted he caused that to test whether Jin was a real fighter and to see if he was as strong as his grandfather. Next, we see Han visiting a friend in the hospital who's dealing with a serious illness. It's revealed Han is competing to earn money to help him. The friend explains the doctors are going to try a new, expensive medicine, and his sister has picked up extra work to pay for it. She's so busy she barely sleeps, and the friend feels guilty for being a burden to both Han and his sister. Han tells him not to worry and to focus on recovering. He mentions he met a boy who reminds him of his friend, and soon they're joking around, turning the heavy moment into a bit of laughter. Later, Han is working his trash collection job when a group of bullies shows up. They make fun of him after hearing about his friend's bad health. One of them throws a can that splashes his shirt and makes it dirty. Han just picks the can back up, and they keep mocking him while he stays quiet. Back at the arena, Han gets ready to fight a boy who always carries a book. The boy says he learned everything from books, even how to win fights. When the match starts, he begins reading Han's moves because he says he studied all the karate patterns. He brags that if he practices and memorizes every movement, he can't lose, and that's why he joined to prove his theory. He swings a metal bat at Han, but Han dodges. The boy goes for another hit, slips, and falls over. Han doesn't take advantage. Instead, he reaches out and helps him up. The boy is surprised Han didn't hit him and asks why. Han says attacking someone on the ground would be cowardly. The boy answers by using 12 spears, landing 12 strikes at once and hurting Han badly. He says those hits went through bone and into organs, so there's no point in getting up again. Han remembers his friend in the hospital saying he wants to live and won't give up. Back in the ring, Han decides he can't lose, so even with those injuries, he stands. The boy tries 72 spears next. Han meets it with Black Tortoise, then follows with Vermilion Bird, whipping up a wind that blinds the boy. Finally, Han unleashes White Tiger, smashing him with many blows until the boy is helpless. The book kid can't believe his theory fell apart. He can't move on to his fourth stance, collapses, and is out of the tournament. They announce the next match, the green-haired commissioner versus Jin Mori. But Jin is at home, unconscious, until something inside him suddenly wakes him up. At the arena, everyone thinks he won't show, but he runs in and jumps into the ring. He looks tired and doesn't understand why his body is burning so much. The green-haired commissioner mocks him and hints he was scared. The announcer explains a special rule. Since it's an uneven match, if Jin knocks him down once, Jin wins. The fight starts. In a blink, Jin plucks off the commissioner's glasses and knocks him down with almost no effort. Before the guy can react, the announcer calls it finished, and the crowd gets upset because it ended too fast. The commissioner loses his temper, rushes in, and attacks, but Jin slips the strike and kicks him so hard he flies. The arena goes quiet. It's clear Jin is incredibly strong. Right after, a giant monster, like a god, bursts out of the commissioner's body and attacks. Jin has to sprint around the ring to avoid the huge swings. The monster's power looks far beyond anything anyone here has seen. It tries to stab Jin with a sword, but something stops it, and then the monster disappears. Other commissioners arrive and hold the green-haired guy back while he rages about being humiliated. Park Mujin shows up, cuts the man's salary for 3 months as punishment, then walks to Jin, who's resting, and congratulates him. Jin says he's very hungry and wants a banana. In that moment, Park is sure Jin is Jin Taejin's grandson, the so-called Tiger Cup. A TV program talks about the god of high school tournament. The hosts say only 4 fighters are left from the prelims. Jin Mori, who uses Renu Tondo, Yu, heir to the Moonlight Sword style, Han, a top full-contact karate fighter, and Jae-hee, who uses a Brazilian style. The next match will be Yu versus Han. After that, the 3 friends walk down the street, arguing about who will reach the final. A car stops in front of them. A young man gets out, kneels, and tells Yu he loves her and asks her to marry him. All 3 are shocked and embarrassed. Next, Yu is with her younger cousin, choosing the dress she'll wear for the wedding. The little girl can't believe Song Jin decided to marry Yu, and we learn he's a famous fighter who works on TV. Song Jin says he wants Mira and her sword to shine. We see a memory from Yu's childhood. After her father died, her uncle came and said she would live with him now and take care of her father's sword. He tried to teach martial arts, but he was too weak, and the students left the academy. Yu said she is the rightful owner of the sword and has to secure a bright future for it. Later at the dojo, the uncle asks Seong Jin why he wants to marry Yu. He says he has many plans that involve her and the sword, and he's determined to complete a dream that neither he nor his brother could reach. Later, Jin Mori was standing at a counter trying to pick a burger when he overheard people in the line talking about his friend's wedding. He went straight to her place to ask why she was marrying Song Jin. When she asked how he even found her house, he said he got the address from the tournament staff. Yu tried to shut the door, but he held it and asked why she'd marry someone she didn't love, especially with the semifinals coming up. She said she had to do it for the sword and the moonlight style. Then she closed the door, and Jin slipped and fell down the stairs. Even so, she looked sad, like she didn't really want the marriage. Jin called Han, who was doing food deliveries, and told him Yu was marrying a TV personality he didn't trust. Han told him to stop getting involved in things that weren't his problem. Jin said something felt off because Mira Yu didn't look happy at all. Cut to Yu in a bridal dress. Her uncle remembered how she wasn't like most girls, she liked staying home and cleaning. And when they walked outside, she would stare at other girls' clothes. He'd ask if she wanted him to buy some, and she always said no. So it was strange she was getting married now, and even stranger that it was to someone she didn't love. He went to Song Jin and asked him to call it off, saying Yu didn't want this, and she was still basically a kid. Yu walked in and said she was happy and wanted to live her dream of getting married. It was clear she had another plan in mind. She said Song Jin's power would change the future of the Moonlight Sword style. Her cousin looked upset because Yu didn't normally talk like that. Later, the cousin told Jin Mori about Yu's father and the sword. Jin tried to go speak to Yu and make her rethink it, but security stopped him because he didn't have an invitation. He tried to push through and got thrown to the floor. We then saw a flashback of Seong Jin's real plan. He belonged to a robe-wearing cult. Their leader told him to get the sword in the hand that holds it, meaning Yu, since only she can control it. The leader said whoever holds that sword could rule like a god. Jin scuffled with the guards but wouldn't use his Tondo moves because they were too weak for that. Suddenly Han showed up and shoulder-checked the guards out of the way, dropping all of them. He told Jin he wasn't hitting them, just pushing them aside. Song Jin stared at his men, disappointed. Jin broke into the wedding, but Song Jin attacked him with a sword a servant brought. Han caught the blade with his hand, giving Jin a chance to speak to Yu. Jin told her not to marry Seong. She said she had to honor her father's wish, find someone very strong to inherit the sword. She had rejected every boy who asked her out because they were too weak. While she talked, she threw punches at Jin, and he just guarded. Her uncle stepped in, and she accidentally hit him in the face. After that, it was clear her uncle and the little cousin didn't want the wedding either. Jin told Yu to do what she truly wants. Hearing that made her remember her dad saying the same thing when she was little. She realized she had misread his words. He wanted her to use any technique she needed to master the sword. With that memory, she decided and told Song Jin she wouldn't marry him. She also said she would protect the moonlight style herself. Seong Jin refused and said he'd take the sword and the girl by any means. He then summoned a deity, the same kind we saw come out of the green-haired guy against Jin. The place started to collapse, and Han yelled for everyone to run. Seong Jin slashed at Han, and stabbed Yu in the stomach because she jumped in the way. Yu instantly countered with a moonlight move, and Seong-jin went down. Jin and Han were relieved to see Yu back to herself. Afterward, they stood outside watching the fire. Yu felt guilty about all of it. Seong-jin escaped by car with his father's sword. Yu said she didn't care if he took it, because her father's spirit wasn't in the blade, it was inside her. Then she walked off laughing with her friends, and both her uncle and the little girl were happy for her. Later, Han was at the hospital while doctors tried to revive his friend. But they couldn't, he had no pulse. After that, Han went back to work, and the same guys came to mock him again. This time he didn't allow it, he beat all three for insulting his friend. Then the semifinals started, Han versus Yu. Han was full of rage over his friend's death, and the crowd was shocked as he brutalized Yu. He wanted to keep hitting her even though she was badly hurt and unconscious, so the presenter had to step in to stop him before he went too far. After the match, Han walked past Jin Mori and said they would meet in the final. Jin felt like Han was a different person, not the friend he knew. Han remembered 2 years earlier, before his friend got sick, how they sparred every day after school and actually enjoyed it. Back in the present, he was in the bathroom, throwing up, thinking about his friend and about how he hurt Yu. Next came the other semifinal, Jin Mori versus On, who used a Brazilian style. It ended immediately. Jin won with one strike and knocked him out. Jin's strength looked huge. The announcer said the final would be Jin Mori versus Han, and the winner would go to the national tournament. Later, Jin Mori went to see Yu in the hospital, where the doctors were treating her with nanomachines. She noticed he looked spaced out and said he'd never beat Han if he stayed like that. She added she lost because she was weak, but Mori said it happened because she was already hurt from the earlier fight. Even so, she worried about why Han acted that way. After that, Han visited his friend in the hospital. He was still alive, but now in a coma. The next day was the final day of the prelims. The fighters were called to the ring and the match started. Mujin wondered aloud if the tiger cub, meaning Jin, would finally wake up. The fight began even, both trading hits with no clear lead. Then Han smashed Mori's mouth, and Mori spat a lot of blood, similar to how Yu got hit before. Mori stood, angry, and said he wouldn't forgive Han for hurting their friend. He fired off renewal taekwondo kicks, and Han crashed into the corner. Mori walked over and offered a hand to lift him. Han grabbed it, but said that neither Mori nor Yu were his friends, and then he launched multiple techniques at Mori. Meanwhile, Yu left the hospital with her uncle and cousin. As she passed Han's friend's room, she noticed nanotech treatment underway. Several people were gathered there, including tournament staff and a girl mourning her brother. The sisters screamed at the dead boy, telling him to get up and go fight Han again, because that's what he loved most. A memory explained why Han was fighting like this. Earlier, the scarred man told Han he knew Han wanted the prize to help his friend and offered a deal if Han won the semifinal and final in clearly dominant fashion. He'd use nanomachines to cure Han's friend. That's why Han went all out against Yu, and why he was doing the same against Mori now. Back in the ring, Han was pummeling Mori with his god stance, and Mori hit the floor. The announcer started a 10 count. Before it reached 0, the scarred man appeared and told Han that his friend had already died. Right then, Mori stood up still before the count ended. We jumped to Han's school days. He had a reputation for winning every fight, even against older kids. Once, he was outnumbered by students with sticks, but an unexpected ally, the same friend who would later matter so much, showed up and helped. After they won, both lay on the ground, exhausted. The friend asked why Han's friends never came to help. Han answered the harsh truth. Those people weren't real friends. The friend advised him to trust people more. Back in the present, Han came to after being stunned, trying to process the news of his friend's death. Mori charged in with a brutal rush, and Han defended tirelessly. We also learned the scarred man had told Han the nanomachine treatment had started, but it was too late, so their contract was over, and Han was now free to fight how he wanted. In the middle of the clash, Han regretted saying Mori and Yu weren't his friends, and his friend's advice, trust people, kept echoing. Even as Mori kept attacking, Han chose not to resist for a moment, thinking hard. During the brawl, Yu begged Han to fight like he did against her, and handed him a letter from his late friend. She told him not to show Mori the contents, worried it would affect the match. Han remembered his friend writing it shortly before he passed. The letter said he was happy and told Han to fight for himself. With that, both fighters felt clear-headed, and they went all in. Mori unleashed a huge blue dragon kick, sending Han tumbling. The announcer declared Jin Mori the winner of the tournament. Han had one more memory, a time he beat his friend. The friend wanted them to smile, but Han said smiles don't win fights. The friend insisted they would become best friends anyway. Back now, Mori reached out his hand. Han noticed Mori's smile looked just like his friend's. They shook hands and Mori said they were friends. Yu helped Han stand and said she planned to beat him next time. They walked off together while the crowd cheered their new friendship. Elsewhere, Jin Mori's grandfather, Jin Taejin, was deep in the forest when men in cult robes appeared. One spoke to the old man, saying strong people should join together and follow them, claiming power granted from heaven. The old man refused, saying he lives his own way, the same message he often gave his grandson. The cultist's face shifted, hinting he might have used some kind of power on him. That night, Mori lay on his bed, thinking about his grandfather's whereabouts, a man he hasn't seen since he was a kid. On TV, the hosts announced that the national tournament would start in 2 weeks, and it would be a team event. To join, the top 3 from each regional prelim had to form a team. To decide, 3rd and 4th place, Yu fought the fighter who used a Brazilian style and won easily, taking 3rd. Jin Mori cheered loud from the stands, which made Yu and Han a little embarrassed. The tournament staff studied the teams and suddenly changed a rule. They had realized that anyone on a team could be the key because all 3 showed key-like traits. They also noted the key awakens when a person's strongest emotion triggers their hidden power. At the same time, they worried the cult was getting bolder after the prelims, since the cult wanted the same goals. Jin was happy Yu won, because now all 3 of them could enter the big tournament together. Walking down the street, he got hyped about going with his friends, then suddenly realized that in a team match, he wouldn't get to fight them. Yu asked why he even wanted to. Jin said, "Being the strongest is cool." While talking, Jin felt someone pass by, but when he looked, the person had already vanished, which made him curious. An elderly man was then sent by the scarred man to watch Jin. It turned out this old man was a master, and these masters are summoned with cards. There are 6 in total. He had been Mujin's teacher in the past and believed Jin had to be strong, since Jin survived eating the sage fruit. Because of that, the old man planned to mentor him. Next, we saw what happened with Jin Mori's grandfather. The men in robes summoned a god, opening a portal. A giant sword came down from the sky, aimed at the old man, and the impact caused huge destruction. After this, they thought the end of the world might be close. Yu started worrying about her role on the team, feeling like a background extra. Later, she met the fight presenter with his family at a store. She noticed he was blind. He congratulated her and told her the real tournament was about to begin, and she needed to use the full power of the moonlight sword style. He said she had to pour her emotions into the sword, or her strength would be wasted. He even revealed he lost his sight because of the moonlight sword. When he headed back to his car, he smelled a rotten stench. It was coming from a member of Nox. Han later spoke with Mujin. Mujin asked if Han still wanted to compete after his friend's death, hinting he didn't have to go on. Han said he had a big debt to repay. He would win like his friend would have wanted, and he also wanted to learn the truth about the hidden power behind the tournament, the god that came out of the green-haired man during Jin's fight. That comment made the scarred man pay close attention as he looked at pictures of gods on the wall. Jin trained hard to get more muscle and surprise Yu and Han, but his drills were kind of useless, like chasing a cat. Another time, he helped kids get a balloon out of a tree. The branch snapped, and he twisted his ankle. The same elderly man quietly appeared behind him and slid a needle into Jin's ankle, and the pain disappeared. After this, the scarred man explained the idea of gods. Some people can draw power from a god and use it in battle as if they were gods themselves. This is beyond normal human limits, and those users are called Cherio. Later, Yu and Han visited Jin's house. When Jin asked how they found it, Yu joked with the same answer he used when he went to her place. Inside, the place was messy. Jin said he used to live with his grandfather in the mountains, but moved here to attend school. The 3 shared what they had learned about Cherio and about Jin's healing tricks. He even eased Yu's sore shoulder. They agreed they needed to stay alert, because many fighters now had god powers. The big national tournament with the best teams is about to start. There are 9 regions, and each sends 3 fighters, so 27 competitors in total. The prize is wild. The winners get the power of a god, which can grant any wish. Yu notices the presenter isn't the same person as before. Then a TV report drops a bomb. The previous presenter was murdered in a park. Everyone, crowd and fighters, are shaken. We then see the killer himself, enjoying the chaos, bragging that he also took out the green-haired commissioner with glasses, one of the tournament's strongest. The current presenter explains the format. There will be 3 fights, and the team that wins 2 moves to the next round. Jin Mori goes first. Yu tells him to be careful because the other team is tough. Jin isn't worried and says he learned a new skill. In the fight, he presses points on his own body to unlock hidden power. Up in the stands, the elderly man smiles. He taught Jin this as part of Taejin's Tundo. But Jin hits the wrong spots, his body locks up, and he can't move. His opponent punishes him with heavy kicks and takes the first win. The second match is Han versus the biggest guy on the other team. The presenter says this fighter is 38 years old, which shocks everyone because he doesn't look like a high schooler. Somewhere else, the man who killed the presenter boasts about how easy it was to kill both the host and the green-haired commissioner. But the truth comes out. The green-haired man, Q, survived even with a sword through his lung. He summons a god and cuts off the assassin's arm. Back in the arena, Han trades hard shots with his older opponent, Pum. Pum's brother looks worried, but tells himself not to panic because Pum never quits. We jump to a memory. Pum worked construction, got mocked for failing the high school entrance exam again and again. His brother brought a bag of books and talked with him about keeping at it. Nearby, Jang watched and swore she wouldn't become a loser, like people called them. After losing a fencing match, she threw her sword at a wall. Pum walked over to check on her. She already knew his name, people gossip about him. She asked why he keeps trying when everyone mocks him for being older and a weak student. Pum said he won't give up. He tried many things after leaving school, quit them all, and learned the hard way: if you really want something, you don't quit. Then he ran off to work in the rain. Back to now, Han gets rocked and sent to a corner. Pum yells that he has to win, because his dream is to help people who want to study but struggle. He uses Cheerio, calling Thor's hammer, and smashes at Han. Han stops it and breaks the hammer with the blue dragon. Pum hits the floor, Han wins. Elsewhere, Q keeps fighting the assassin. He cuts off the other arm, but the killer laughs that he can regenerate forever. Q answers by throwing cards that stab into the assassin and pin him down. Just as Q goes in to finish it, a boy and a girl show up, priests from the cult. The boy is Xe, the girl is Saturn. They use strange powers and attack Q. The white-haired organizer rushes in. She knew Q had removed his limiter and came to help. Back at the tournament, the final match is Yu versus Jang, and whoever wins sends their team forward. They start with sticks, but Jang quickly sees Yu has the edge. Pum shouts for Jang to fight hard and don't quit. Jang creates a yellow light sword and swings, but Yu dodges. Remembering what the presenter told her in the park, Yu pours full emotion into the moonlight sword style, then fires a powerful kick that shatters Jang's sword. Yu wins. Back to Q's scene. Q and the white-haired woman defeat the cult priests, but before they can finish them, Xe grabs Saturn and they escape. Meanwhile, another assassin's head starts swelling and explodes, blowing up the apartment and cutting power to the whole building. Q and the woman survive. Later, Jin Mori and Yu celebrate their team's victory, while Han thinks about the time he hit Yu so hard and promises he'll never do that again. Jang wakes up, and Pum worries over her. He tells her it's not over, and they'll get another shot next year. The next match starts with a green-haired boy named Jaeon Jugok. He makes a power from music notes and fire. His opponent, Jegul Taek, calls out a huge shark that tears into Jugok, and he loses a lot of blood. A girl from Jugok's team rushes in to help, but Tai keeps kicking her while she's on the ground, which shocks the crowd and the fighters. Yu tells Jin Mori not to jump in so he won't get disqualified, but this time Han steps forward to face Jegul Taek. The announcer moves between them, and the injured boy forces himself up because he wants to win for his family's company. He creates fire and lightning, but Jegul Taek shuts it down easily and summons the shark again, and it devours the boy. In the emergency room, doctors work on the injured boy while Park, the scarred man, thinks over what happened. An old man says Jegul Taek should be disqualified because it's clear he wanted to cause trouble in the tournament, but Park hints that Jegul might be the key they've been looking for. Meanwhile, Jin Mori, Yu, and Han watch the rest of the fights from the seats. Han and Yu talk about the next opponents, and Han remembers he's suspended from fighting because he interfered before. Jin is amazed by a fighter named Park Ilpio, who wins in one blow with a strong kick. The tiger badge on Park Ilpio's hoodie makes Jin think of his grandfather's military uniform. As they walk, Han says they need to get stronger and master Charyok, the power to call a god's strength. In a memory, Park Mujin explains that some fighters spend years training to gain Charyok and still fail, while others get it when they're inspired. Jin says he wants to win with his own power and won't rely on gods. Yu worries because Jin feels different now, quieter and sad. Jin remembers a talk with Park and the blue-haired woman. They told him his grandfather was attacked in the mountains, and they found a lot of his blood there. Park Mu-jin said the chance of living was small, but Jin believed his grandfather would survive. Back in the present, Jin can't accept that his grandfather was killed. Right then, Park Ilpio walks up, excited to meet him. They trade friendly punches and end in a draw, then stop. Ilpio apologizes for getting too hyped and helps Jin up. He says he's been following Jin since the prelims. Jin asks about the tiger mark on Ilpio's hoodie, and Ilpio says he wears it to honor Jin Taejin, Jin's grandfather. Ilpio tells his childhood story. After his father's funeral, his mother left him, and he was sent to a martial arts school where he felt alone. One day, Jin Taejin came by carrying a little Jin asleep on his chest. Taejin said he fought with Ilpio's grandfather in a war. He gave Ilpio a martial arts book called Taekon that Ilpio's grandfather had studied all his life, and told Ilpio to grow fast and become a great fighter. Ilpio noticed the tiger sign on Taejin's uniform, and it stuck with him. While they're talking, Ilpio blocks an attack aimed at Jin by stopping the shark's teeth that Jaegil fired. Ilpio faces Jaegil and tells him not to hurt innocent people. A memory shows Ilpio landing a huge hit on Jaegil before, which Jaegil never forgot. Jaegil leaves, and Ilpio warns Jin that Jaegil is very dangerous. Jin thanks Ilpio, knowing he couldn't have stopped that attack alone. Then we see Jin training to get even stronger. Q bursts into Park's office, angry that Park let the dead presenter's family be killed. Park hits Q and says he has to pay for the apartment damage from their fight, and that 9 months of Q's pay will be taken. Later on a rooftop, the blue-haired woman tells Q she used a fake body to trick their enemies and move the real wife and daughter to safety. Q digs a coin out from under a soda machine, and Han, who works there, sees it. Han asks Q to teach him how to use charyok, and in return, Han will bring him lunch every day so Q can save money. Han wants to get stronger than Jin Mori and beat him one day, and he feels that Jin is struggling, so he wants to be a solid friend. Park meets the tournament staff and says a dangerous cult called Nox is targeting them, and he tells them to remove any member they find. Elsewhere, the Nox group gathers, and their leader declares war on the god of high school organizers. Jin thinks about his 17th birthday and how long he's been apart from his grandfather Jin Taejin. He remembers his grandfather leaving to face powerful enemies when Jin was still a kid. Yu and Han surprise him with birthday wishes, bring food, and they spend the night playing and laughing. They promise each other they'll win the tournament, even if Han can't fight now because of his suspension. The next day, Jin gets a letter with a map and a photo of his grandfather chained up, which makes him worry for real. He jumps on his bike to go rescue him, saying sorry to Yu and Han in his head and promising he'll be back before the matches. The quarterfinals start with Seoul versus Jeju, 2 teams added into the bracket at the last minute. Yu and Han look for Jin but can't find him. The blue-haired woman shows up and tells them the match is about to begin and they need to go back to the arena. She warns that if Jin isn't there before his turn, he'll be disqualified and their team will be out. Yu stands in the ring alone. Han was already disqualified earlier, and she decides to stall for time so Jin can return. The other team arrives in black robes, which makes everyone think they might be Nox. The fighter, who will face Yu, takes off his robe. He's very muscular and holds a wooden sword that belonged to Yu's father, which raises the tension. During the fight, Yu's wooden sword breaks, and her strong opponent reveals a national treasure called Fiank and uses its huge power. Yu is shocked because she never knew that sword was hidden inside her weapon. The muscular fighter mocks her, saying that after all her years of training she never learned what her sword really was. The fight rages on and Yu knocks his weapon away for a moment. She tries to hold the sword herself and recognizes it as hers, but it disappears from her hand and appears back in his. He says the sword knows its true owner, and now it accepts him. Meanwhile, Jin Mori reaches an abandoned place while searching for his grandfather and walks into a messed up scene. Someone is pretending to be his grandpa. The fake's head twists backward, then bloats up and explodes, blowing the area apart. A mysterious man appears and tells Jin his goal is to erase the strongest fighters in the tournament so he can reach the key. Jin doesn't flinch. The man splits into many copies, all looking the same, and Jin readies himself for a hard fight. At the same time, Yu is still taking a brutal beating from her muscular opponent, who keeps mocking her and calling her weak. Han, still looking for Jin Mori, enters a room and finds Palm lying on the floor. A woman shows up, and Han clashes with her for a moment, then decides he can't waste time on this fight. Jaegil walks in and rebukes the woman for what she did. Back to Jin's battle. The clones overwhelm him by sheer numbers. They dogpile him and crash through the floor together. As they fall, Jin notices lifeless bodies. They're the Jeju team members, the same team Yu is fighting. The clone user explains they killed the Jeju fighters and took their identities to secure a win over Jin's team. Jin quickly presses special points on his body and numbs himself for the next hour to push through. Yu is still getting overpowered and can't block well. Her opponent taunts her, saying Jin won't come back. When Yu learns a friend was hurt, she fires back, but her strikes don't do real damage. The muscular fighter lands a huge hit, and Yu blacks out. In that instant, her body hangs in the air and she sinks into her mind. She hears the voice of a god of war and remembers warm moments with her friends. The god of war chooses her. Yu awakens, and we see she can summon the god Lubu. Her sword reappears in her hand. The muscular man pulls his own chariot, Kraken, but Yu defeats him easily. The announcer calls Yu the winner, but she's drained and collapses, and Jin arrives just in time to catch her before she hits the ground. Yu is relieved he made it. The presenter announces the second match right away. While they treat Yu's injuries, Han is glad she gained chariot, but both he and Yu notice Jin is angrier than usual, unlike anything they've seen from him. The next fight starts. Jin's opponent asks how he escaped the clones. Jin says nothing and launches a blue dragon strike. This isn't a god's power, it's a technique Jin created himself. As he hits his opponent, the scene also shows how he took down the clone user earlier. Later, we see Park Il-pyo's memories. Jaegil shattered the leg of Il-pyo's best friend Sujin. At the hospital, they say Sunjin will one day walk again, but she will never practice martial arts. Il-pyo tracks Jaegil down, beats him on the ground, and demands an apology for his injured friend. The police arrive and arrest Il-pyo. When he exits the station, a man hands him a letter and invitation to the god of high school. After thinking it over, he and the other girl decide to enter, hoping the prize can help their friend. Park, the scarred man, explains to Jin Mori, Han, and Yu what happened with the fake Jeju team. They posed as others to try to knock them out, but failed, so the group will still reach the semifinals. Han asks why the attack happened and who is behind it. The scarred man says it was Nox. We cut back to the clone user, now severely wounded after Jin's fight. Jekyll shows up and says he's not a member of Nox but works with them to gather information. As he leaves, he summons the giant shark, kills the injured man, and says he'll claim the key. The tournament continues, and Jin's team faces Il-pyo's team. Yu and Han keep noticing Jin is quieter than normal. The next bout is Han versus Sunga. She rushes in hard, but Han remembers what Park told them earlier. Nox wants to stop others from using Cheerio, and anyone who masters it must join them. That's why they kidnapped Jin's grandfather, who has huge power. The group vows to confront Nox, but Park warns they're still too weak. He promises to share info about Nox if they win the tournament. During the match, Han lands a big blow and knocks Sunga into a corner. Il-pyo tells her to stop, since the odds are bad, but she refuses. She says she won't fear ending up like Sunja, and will honor her friend by fighting to her last breath. She attacks again, but Han is too strong, and he wins. Han walks to Jin, who's been acting off, and says they'll win the tournament together as a team. Yu hugs them, reminding them their unity and support matter most. Jin, moved by his friends, realizes he was acting wrong and goes back to his playful, cheerful self. Il-pyo watches this with a touch of sadness, while they tend to his defeated friend. Sunjun arrives and says Sua had mentioned they're joining the tournament. She thanks Il-pyo for caring about her leg, but tells him to fight for himself, especially for his wish to face Jin Mori. Fired up by her words, Il-pyo says he feels ready now and heads back toward the ring. Sang, the leader of Nox, appears in another place and shows deadly strength, making several people crumble away to nothing. His destruction is cut short when Park Mujin shows up again after being gone for a long time. Sang notes that it's been a while since Park has revealed himself and says he already knows why Park set up this tournament. He wants to find the dormant key. After saying that, Sang performs a strong spell. A strange mark forms high in the sky. A sharp beam blasts upward into the heavens, and a portal opens. Out of that opening drops a gigantic sword, the very same blade that once appeared before Jin Mori's grandfather. We jump back to the arena, where the much-awaited fight between Jin Mori and Park Il-pyo is about to begin. As soon as they square off, Il-pyo tells Jin straight up that Jin's current Tando won't be enough to beat him. Il-pyo then lays out 3 problems he sees in Jin's style. First, Jin struggles when the fight gets close. Second, he calls out his attacks out loud. Third, his own moves put too much strain on his body. Il-pyo puts those points into practice immediately, landing hits while Jin looks stuck. Il-pyo even taunts him, saying Jin Taejin would be very disappointed to see his grandson this week. At that crucial moment, Jin thinks about how to flip the match and suddenly uses Yu's moonlight sword style. Both Yu and Il-pyo are shocked that he copied it, and the technique actually lands and hurts Il-pyo. Right after that, Jin follows with Han's black tortoise, showing he is already working on the exact weaknesses Il-pyo just called out. Meanwhile, the portal Sang opened is still active. A dark, godlike figure shows itself and pushes down on the huge sword, like it wants to judge the tournament's organizers. Sang was hoping that being would punish them. Park answers by summoning a cross-shaped shield, and that barrier stops the sword from smashing the city. Then a man wearing a hat arrives with a group of drummers. He performs a series of invocations and opens a second portal. From that new opening, massive hands reach out and grab the sword. It's clear their leader has just called one of the 6 powerful beings. Out on the streets, the organizers are fighting Nox followers. Park is straining to keep the glowing cross shield up as a protective wall. At the worst moment, a creature emerges from the second portal, bites into the sword, and shatters it. The organizers cheer, they fought hard and stop a disaster. Back in the ring, Jin and Il-pyo keep pushing themselves, both unleashing everything they have. It's obvious Il-pyo has been guiding Jin throughout the match, and the level of skill looks amazing. We also see a memory from the past. Jin Taejin and a young Jin once visited Il-pyo at his martial arts academy. During that visit, An elder asked Ilpio if he would teach the grandson some lessons if they ever met again. Ilpio keeps that promise right now, sharing what he knows while they fight. As the battle peaks, Ilpio finally drops to the mat. Defeated but satisfied, he kept his word to Jinin by helping the grandson become very strong. Lying there, Ilpio slips into a strange, dreamlike state and meets a white-tailed fox. He declares he cannot afford to lose. To everyone's shock, he stands up again. His hair turns white, his eyes glow yellow, and 9 burning tails appear behind him. The power rolling off him is beyond anything they have seen. Even Park and Sang are stunned. Seeing this, Sang smiles and says the key has finally revealed itself. Back in the middle of the fight, everyone, including Jin Mori, is stunned by Ilpio's new form. Jegel's Cheerio resonance makes him think Ilpio might be the key. Ilpio calmly announces that the real match starts now. Jin rushes him, but his strikes do nothing because an invisible barrier is protecting Ilpio. Ilpio counters with heavy, precise blows and throws Jin to the ground. Jin doesn't know yet how to break through. Yu and Han watch in amazement, impressed that Jin won't give up. Ilpio touches his own head, and Jin notices how much strain he's under. While defending himself, Jin figures out something important. Choke isn't only about drawing power, it also means mastering your own mind and body. With that realization, the gap between them closes, and they meet on equal footing. Ilpio releases a fiery fox attack toward Jin. As the blazing beasts near him, they fall apart into nothing. The sky dims, and a brilliant light pours out of Jin Mori, climbing toward the heavens. Powerful rays stream from his body, and Ilpio is left shocked by the sudden surge. After that, Ilpio launches a huge technique called the Night Parade of 100 Demons. Jin answers by spinning up a strong whirlwind that hurls Ilpio high into the clouds. From above, a colossal hand slams down, smashing Ilpio back into the ring and ending his transformed state. The announcer declares Jin Mori the winner. The audience explodes, celebrating an incredible fight. Yu and Han jump into the ring and hug Jin. Han asks whether Jin used his choke, but Jin himself isn't sure what just happened. Sang, surprised by the outcome, chooses to be cautious and then leaves. Meanwhile, Mujin orders the team to secure the key while he goes to get immediate medical treatment for his injuries. Later, after some light banter breaks the tension, Jin visits Ilpio in the hospital. They keep up their easy, friendly argument over who is stronger. When the room is quiet, Jin opens up. He still doesn't know where his grandfather is. He says he is determined to win the tournament because the scarred man promised to give him information about his grandfather if he becomes the champion. Worried for Jin's safety, Ilpio warns him that facing Jegel in the finals is dangerous. Even with that warning, Ilpio reaches over and pats Jin on the head in a warm, older brother way. That small gesture brings back memories of their shared childhood and shows how strong their bond has become. After getting wrecked by Jegel's earlier attack, Jeon Jugok still refuses to quit. He's determined to keep fighting for his family's corporation. While he's walking down a hospital hallway, he suddenly runs into Jegel again. They throw down right there. In the chaos, Jugok twists into a monster form that can absorb people. During his rampage, he pulls Ilpio's friends into his body, trapping them inside. Ilpio, who's still hurt and not fully healed, tries to step in and stop Jugok, but he's too weak to do much. That's when Jegel cuts in. He uses his shark teeth ability to stab into Jugok's mutated body and pull the girl out. It works for a second, but Jugok spreads his body tissue again and snatches Ilpio's friends back. The girl stuck inside begs him to stop, tries to talk sense into him, but Jugok's frenzy doesn't let up. Things turn brutal. Jegel summons his shark, and the girl is killed, while the boy is left badly injured. Watching his friends suffer pushes Ilpio over the edge. He grabs Jegel, their fight explodes in intensity, and the two of them tumble off the top of a building together. Somewhere else, the leader of Nox Sang makes a street-side announcement. He's found the key. Then, he releases flying monsters into the city. With the threat spiking, Park Mujin decides it's time to shut down the God of High School tournament. Right as the chaos spreads, a massive godlike figure drops through a portal. Its shadow washing over Jin Mori, Yu, and Han, and filling the air with awe and dread. Sang looks pleased, saying this is both the beginning and the end of something huge. We cut to Jugok's grandfather, who swears he'll avenge his grandson's death, even if he has to give up his own life to do it. Then the story peeks into Jegel's past. He was ripped away from his mother and pushed through harsh training, raised to be a winner and inherit the family fortune. Even after taking heavy blows from Ilpio in their battle, Jegel stubbornly refuses the loser label his father threw at his mother. Back in the present, Jegel and Ilpio are locked in a ferocious fight, both of them blasting out Churak power at full force. Ilpio's anger has taken over and clouded his judgment. Jegel notices the change and says Ilpio is fighting like an untamed animal now. Meanwhile, the tournament staff are battling those flying monsters pouring from the portal. Q is actually thrilled there's big money on each monster he knocks down, and he plans to use the cash to pay off his debt. Park jumps in above the city and casts a protective shield in the sky to keep the descending god from tearing everything apart. Sang lays out his true plan. He wants to erase every last piece of the world. Ilpio keeps pressing Jeggle, but Jeggle counters by summoning a monster that bites into Ilpio and forces him to drop his empowered state, snapping him back to normal. The key that had been inside Ilpio floats into the air, instantly becoming the center of a wild scramble as multiple people try to grab it. Sang actually gets his hands on it, but Jin Mori suddenly kicks it away, confused why everyone is so desperate to claim it. All the while, Park is still holding the sky shield, straining to block the god's pressure. Then the U.S. government takes its shot. They launch nuclear missiles and pull their alliance with Mujin, claiming their advanced tech makes the old gods useless. Things are headed off a cliff, so someone alerts Park, and he casts a transport spell that moves the tournament fighters to a remote mountain location. The jump isn't clean. Ilpio gets seriously hurt in the process. Han uses his healing-type Charioke to treat Ilpio's injured friends on the spot. While Han is helping, Sunjin explains to Jin Mori why Ilpio pushed so hard to make him stronger. Ilpio foresaw huge threats moving in on the entire city, so he kept trying to prepare Jin for what was coming. Right then, Ilpio wakes up. Jin shows him the key and tells him it really was inside him. Ilpio admits he doesn't know what the key is or why it chose him, but he begs Jin to guard it and never hand it over to anyone. Jeggle shows up again and demands to know where the key is, pressing Yu and Han for an answer. They refuse to say a word, so Jeggle attacks them. When Jin goes looking for his friends, he finds them badly beaten. Han tells him to run for it. Jeggle's too strong to take head-on right now. Jeggle doesn't hesitate. He calls himself the winner and announces he'll take everything, including the key, for himself. Right after that, the god kept hammering at the barrier until it finally started breaking. At the same time, every single person in the city suddenly vanished from the streets. It wasn't random. The old man Jason had teleported the population to safety outside the city so no civilians would get hurt. He didn't want revenge on everyone, only on the people who caused his grandson's death. Then, Jason went straight for the incoming nukes, pierced the missiles, and used his own divine strength as one of the six to smash the god's shield. The flying monsters were caught in the blast and died. During the fight between Jin Mori and Jeggle, both of them felt the massive shock from that explosion and rushed back to Seoul. When they arrived, Jason collapsed to the ground, while Sang stood there completely untouched. The moment he spotted Jin Mori, Sang asked him where the key was. Before Mori could do anything, Jeggle called out more monsters. They swarmed around Mori's friends. A tentacle shot from Jeggle's back, wrapped up Jin Mori, and he ripped the hidden key away from him. Now that he held it, Jeggle said he could finally go beyond the gods. He swallowed the key, shrank into a baby, and then grew at impossible speed, sprouting wings like an angel. He reached a final form that looked nothing like before. Jeggle said it was his fate to absorb everything and return it to nothing, and he announced he would wipe out every weak person. Watching from afar, Park and the other organizers thought the gods looked beaten, but they also realized Jason had died, triggering that explosion, and Sang's location was unclear. Meanwhile, Jin Mori, Yu, and Han were about to get out of there when Jeggle, now in that new form, appeared right in front of them and attacked. His power was way above anything they'd seen. Even Jin Mori got hurt by his hits. Seeing his friends bleed made Mori furious. He used the acupuncture technique the old man had taught him, tapping pressure points across his body to push past his physical limits. With that boost, they charged Jeggle together. But Jeggle answered with lightning, and then gigantic monsters showed up to crush them. He wanted them to suffer before they died. He hurled a spear-like blast their way, and Han threw himself in the path and took the hit in the back. Even injured, Han told the others to run. Right then, Jin Mori cracked open something new inside himself. A huge staff fell from the sky, and Sang stared. Shocked, this meant Jin Mori was the guardian of the key, Satan Taz. Mori took the headband off his forehead. It changed into a crown, his eyes shifted color, and the staff shrank to a size he could swing. He grabbed it and started pounding Jeggle. Everyone watching froze in disbelief as Mori's new power roared to life. Jeggle spawned more giant monsters, but Mori's staff drove straight through them. He wasn't just fighting, he was angry, demanding an apology for every friend Jeggle had hurt. He called out the people who'd been harmed, one by one, and slammed Jeggle to the ground at incredible speed to pay back what they'd suffered. Jeggle still stood up and yelled that he would never be a loser. Mori pulled the clouds together and struck him with lightning over and over. Park told the other organizers that this power wasn't borrowed from a god anymore. Mori's own strength had become divine. Jeggle's transformation snapped away, and he fell beaten. Sang and his followers faded from the scene. Yu and Han ran to Mori and hugged him. relieved to see flashes of his normal self, hungry and all. But Mori was confused. He couldn't remember what just happened, and the crown on his head stabbed him with sharp pain. Jaegal rose again barely. His face started to age fast, like time was chewing him up. He forced another transformation, turning into a twisted, multi-armed monster. Mori tried to summon that new power again, but nothing came. Ilpio arrived and reminded Mori to trust his team. The four of them pulled in close, hugged and faced Jaegal together. Fighting side by side felt right, and Mori unleashed the blue dragons, wiping the monster out. In his last moments, Jaegal remembered his mother telling him goodbye. Ilpio tried to reach him with a few final words, but Jaegal stepped back, told Ilpio to live a good life, and then one of his own monsters devoured him. Ilpio managed to snatch a few key fragments as Jaegal's body faded. A woman appeared then. She said she was one of the six, the progenitor of the human race, the strongest, and the most important person in the tournament. She told them that, as the winners, they could make any wish. Mori ran straight to her and asked for help saving his grandfather. But in that same second, he saw his teammates and other fighters, people missing limbs, people who'd been torn up by the fight. He knew he couldn't be selfish. He pushed his own wish aside and asked for something else. Restore everyone who was hurt back to the way they were before the battle. The woman raised her power, and it happened those with missing arms or legs, those who had been broken all healed, back to their original, uninjured state. She told Mori that his grandfather was alive, but his presence felt very weak. Mori shouted with joy when he heard it. His crown vanished, and he dropped into a deep sleep from pure exhaustion. Time passed. The scene cut to 3 months later. Mori woke up after that long sleep. He went to the kitchen and found Yu and Han busy cooking, like it was the most normal morning ever. In a flashback, the wish-granting woman told Ilpio that the key fragments had been scattered across the world. She made Ilpio the guardian of the key and tasked him with gathering those pieces, because the key has the power to challenge the gods and maybe even defeat them. Mori also learned that if he wanted his missing memories from the battle back, he would need to travel to Satan Taz's homeland. They didn't waste time. Mori, Yu, and Han decided to leave on a long journey to a faraway place. Before they set out, they shared a tight hug and a promise. Mori said he believed the three of them would grow stronger together, and he swore he would find his grandfather. The final image cut to Jin Taijin chained in a dark cell. One arm gone, still alive but in terrible shape. Even there, in that dungeon, he thought about his grandson and stayed certain about one thing. Jin Mori can beat gods and stand up to fate itself. And that's where this video ends. If you stuck till end, you are real legend. Make sure to like and subscribe to our channel. Also watch this following video. Until new one.